now we're at the public comments section. I would say,
I'd like to ask Mary if she supports or opposes NEOSCC in Geauga County.
We don't recognize questions on the floor except during the public comment period.
Isn't this the public comments period?
well, we're getting into it. If you're waiting.
Oh, I thought
All right.
you called it.
Yes, she did. Okay. Then we're going to hit the public comment is next. And I would say each speaker is provided 2 minutes to comment on the agenda item on today's agenda. And so the first person is Mr. Clayton.
Anybody who wants to make comments needs to come up with the mic so you can hear. All right, I chose to come up and speak as a citizen, not just as a board member. And this is very important. That's the reason. And to the citizens that are here, I invited some citizens here this morning to talk about NEOSCC. Everybody in this room knows that NEOSCC is a hot button issue for me. And so, to Grace, I have a question for you. I've read Map 21. I don't know how many people have been here, read it, 586 pages, thereabouts. Nowhere in Map 21 have I seen the authority to institute a NEOSCC organization for regional planning. And so where do we get our authorization from to even do that? In addition to that, in this document, we're acting as though NEOSCC has already been approved and voted on. It has not been approved and voted on. At no step, and I appeal to the board, if you have any sense of responsibility whatsoever, NEOSCC has created a plan. They have vetted their own plan. If I ask Grace Gallucci, when we've had an opportunity to vet the data, her response has always been, we vetted it. Well, it's been vetted internally. The people who created a plan vetted their own plan. We owe it to the citizens of our region to have an outside authority, outside individuals, citizens, take a look at the data, the methodology, the process, to ensure that it is good. And I can tell you that it is not. So we owe it to our citizens to at least have that open debate and discussion. I'm not saying we should shoot it down. Let's have the debate and the discussion. Not a one-sided debate discussion. Let's not act like it's approved when it's not approved. And so I'd like to hear the answer to the question, what gives this body, we're roads and bridges. Map 21 is roads and bridges. If you read Map 21, and I have read it, Grace, you can shake your head, I've read it. It is roads and bridges. Yeah, there's some air quality, there's a little bit of water quality in there, some things like that. But it is basically our infrastructure. So I'd like the answer to that question. With that, I'll close. Thank you.
Certainly. First of all, I would like to clarify that Map 21 is a transportation legislation. Therefore, it includes, yes, roads and bridges, but also alternate forms of transportation, specifically including public transit, bicycle, pedestrian, buggies, as you have spoken. So there's not just roads and bridges. And specifically, Map 21 is funded primarily through gas tax. The gas tax is 18.4 cents at the federal level. 15.4 cents of that goes to roads and bridges. 3 cents of that goes specifically to the alternate forms of transportation, primarily public transit and such. And though that 3 cents was specifically approved by Congress and signed by President Reagan initially to fund those alternate forms of transportation. So just to clarify that. Then secondly, the issue of NEOSCC. Prior to my tenure here, the board of NOACA agreed and approved to apply for the grant to establish NEOSCC. So the board had approved it at that time as part of the grant application. That grant application was in conjunction with the MPOs of Youngstown, Akron, and Canton, as well as Cleveland. So that is the authorization.
Then there's no authorization there, Grace, and excuse me for saying this. An MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, was established under the laws to administer MAP 21 dollars, okay? That has nothing to do with HUD dollars. What gives us the authority to administer HUD dollars? Nothing. We have no authority to do that. That is undermines the government, the representative form of government that we have in Northeast Carolina.
So the answer to that is that the NEOSCC grant is a Sustainable Communities grant that was a partnership between HUD and EPA and the U.S. Department of Transportation. So that is the component that authorizes this body to participate in. I will also say that this organization, although we are a MPO, we are also an area wide, and we have other responsibility as well per the documents that formulated this organization. Just like Eastgate, Youngstown, Cantons, Stars, and they each have different authorizing documents for their own agencies and have different authorizing and responsibilities. So Eastgate, for example, part of their charter specifically states that they are the economic development agency for that region and therefore distribute economic development dollars. So each one of the MPOs, we call them MPOs loosely, but they have other responsibilities as well.
Okay, the next individual is Paul Whitehead. Did I say that? Paul.
I'd like to thank the board for giving me 2 minutes. It's a minute more than my wife usually gives me when I'm trying to get a word in edgewise. I'm here today to talk to the Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium, or NEO, and then my remarks are addressed to them. Dear board members, I've read your 41 initiatives, and what has been omitted is the cost and who's going to pay. Just because you choose to ignore cost quotients doesn't mean they cease to exist. In any new endeavor, the devil is in the details. If this board is going to deliberately be deceptive from the start, what would lead one to believe that there will be any honesty in any other part of the process? Feasibility and sticker shock will kill many of your initiatives. I find it emblematic of many unelected bureaucracies to disregard cost factors, simply because unelected bureaucracies never have to answer to or be held accountable to the elected. A truly odious initiative that should give any taxpayer cause for alarm is the initiative where your consortium wants to consider instituting a land value tax to replace existing improvement-based property assessments and taxation methods. In short, you wish to impose additional taxes to those who live in the suburbs. I find your plan unsustainable. Thank you. Well, I have one closing question I'd like to ask. Is Hunter Morrison ever been employed by Sasaki, or has he ever subcontracted for Sasaki?
So to answer the initial question that you posed as to why the 41 initiatives do not have any cost factors associated with them, it is because the NEOSCC organization is a nonprofit organization that can only make recommendations. It has no authority whatsoever to implement any of the recommendations. All of the recommendations, or any of the recommendations, must be implemented at the local government level. So if a local government chooses to do something, they may do it and they may then determine their own cost quotient, as you were stating. So nothing's being dictated to them. So it's not an error in terms of omission. It is intentionally left to the local government to determine that if they should want to implement that recommendation. And if they should not want to, again, this is a nonprofit organization that has developed a plan, and so there is no requirement whatsoever to move forward with that if the community chooses not to.
History has proven, though, initiatives like this usually evolve into something very hideous down the road. So I do take exception to the fact that there aren't cost factors, and that's why you're going to ignore them. But I didn't come here to debate, and I apologize if I'm being rude to you. My other question was, has Mr. Morrison ever worked for Suzuki or done subcontracting work for them? But you may not know this, but I'd expect an answer down the road.
I believe the answer to that is no. My understanding is he has never worked for them, either as an employee or a subcontractor.
Could you verify that through writing, please?
I can certainly verify that through NEOSCC.
Super, thanks.
For those of you that don't know, Sasaki is the consultant that worked on the NEOSCC plan. They are an internationally known and very, very well-regarded firm that does many of these plans for many communities, as well as a multitude of other types of engineering kinds of work. And just one more thing for clarification, I do want to state that costs are included in the full report. They're not part of the recommendation. So there was a considerable amount of time, energy, and effort to identify various costs and putting them in the report. The report itself is over 300 pages. So it's not in the summary recommendations, but there are other pieces of information in there.
Okay, Con? Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Mary if she approves or does not approve of an NEOSCC in Geauga County.
In Geauga County, at the time NEOSCC came here for the funding, we had no idea what they were going to do, and we did approve it as a board. But in Geauga County, they came to one of our Family First Council meetings, and that is on record. And I stand with my constituents and how they feel about it as their representative.
So you're saying you oppose it then?
I do not go along with their ideas of how it would affect Geauga County's businesses and operations, because we in Geauga County are a completely different operation. We are a rural environment, and we want to keep our rural environment. And we use zoning as a tool to protect our large lot zoning, and we want to keep that. We are a community that depends upon well water for our water, and there's a lot of reasons why we wouldn't want certain institutions in certain locations, or having them tell us what businesses could come in our community and not. Albeit, we may not have the infrastructure, but we have zoning approved in various areas in our Sweet 16 townships. There's 16 of them, 4 villages and 1 city, where industrial and commerce is allowed. And we want to stick to that. And we want to stay with what the people in Geauga County want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brian Smith. Brian, is that you? Brian, are you here? Maybe Brian's out for a minute. We'll wait. We'll go on to Mr. Paul Dodd. Paul?
Thank you. I just have 2 very brief comments. First comment is I think that the physical arrangement of this room actually doesn't permit the public to actually see the members and how they interact with each other at the table, how many electronic devices they may be looking at, the comments they may make among themselves. So I feel that the way the room itself is set up doesn't really permit the public to actually view what's going on with the proceedings. My second comment is about the Vibrant 2040 process. The report that they issued, and I also read, I did not read every page, but most of the pages. It didn't seem to include any of the comments and concerns that were expressed in their various public meetings of any kind of opposition to what they were trying to accomplish. And I find that that's disconcerting because there were quite a few people at their sessions that certainly did not agree with the loss of local control and an unelected bureaucracy trying to run our land and our people and taxes. Thank you.
I would also add, in respect to all those sitting here, I do respect all of your initiatives and the things that you do. Jogga County are a little different. But one of the things that we have done in Jogga County is we have land use plans that have all been set up by the Planning Commission and the appropriate townships, and we respect those plans that they do. And in no way are we going to step on their toes and tell a township what they will or will not do. So that's why we feel the way we do. And I think it's important, and it's difficult. We all try to understand each other's differences, and with that, we come together in a board that combines 5 counties of the city of Cleveland into an area that we hope that we can keep our area in financial good shape, because let's face it, folks, in the nation, there's some serious financial problems. I listen to people, and I've gone around to various communities, and everybody is feeling the economic crunch. And I don't care what county you're in or what township, we're all feeling it. And we want to maintain our level of economic stability, and we want to meet our budget the way we can. So we're all feeling this together. I really believe that, and that's where the initiative of coming together, trying to understand each other's issues is important. Okay.
Madam Chair, can I ask you a question in that
Yes,
regard?
sir.
Can I ask the board by show of hands, how many people have actually read the NEOSCC plan? The complete plan? Okay. So the point being, the majority of the people in this room have not even read the NEOSCC
Well,
plan.
without due respect, it just was published last week.
I'm sorry, but that NEOSCC plan has been in development for over a year. I've had a copy of it. I've got multiple iterations of it. And so therefore, Grace, yes, we've had lots of opportunity. People in this room have had lots of, you've got some great people in it. This is not a shot at the people in this room. We're all very, very busy people. These bureaucratic kinds of things tend to be very complicated and difficult to get into. And so, again, it is being baked into our system by a bureaucratic system. And many of us are, for the lack of a better term, asleep at the switch. And so it will happen because in this regional planning plan, it says that NEOSCC will be, and we've not voted on this yet, by the way, the resource and planning guide for local governments. If it is the resource guide and plan for local governments, the governments will not question that because they will have assumed we've done our jobs. And so therefore, they will just take that and they will run with it. There are already aspects of that plan baked into various policies within NOACA without approval of this board. So again, I appeal to you. Read their plan. If you look at the plan, it undermines every one of you from an elected official standpoint. It removes the citizens' right to have an elected official representing them because you have a bureaucracy with agendas. When you take a look at, or talk about Sasaki, if you look at the history behind Sasaki, Sasaki has a canned solution. So they come in to consult, the solution is already there. If you read the HUD grant that was submitted by NEOSCC, the solution was baked into the grant application before we started spending $1. And so I can show you lots of evidence behind what I'm telling you. All I'm saying to you, and I'm imploring and asking you to please, at least give us a chance. And Grace has said that I can make a presentation next month, a little bit more complete than this, where we can vet this before we have a vote on it.
Okay.
Because we owe that to our citizens.
Next July, this will be the topic of conversation, and this NEOSCC was just completely published, not in its form that it's not complete, but it has been completely published now as its final form. And I think that is what Grace is talking about. So let's just move on here. We have Resolution 2014-011. Oh, okay. He wants to come. Yeah, what do you want to do? Go ahead. Is Mr. Smith? Is Mr. Smith?
There was one more public person signed up for public comment, Mr. Smith.
Is Mr. Smith, are you here? I don't think he's,
Okay, we'll move on then.
Miss Kathy? Mr. Smith.
You can't hear her.
We can't hear you. Push the button on your.
Okay, a couple things on a point of order here. One, this is NOACA, this is not NEOSCC, okay? Secondly, it says an intent to be a resource. Everybody at this table has a plethora of resources that we can go to and we can look at. We can pull EPA studies, we can pull ODOT studies, there is a host of data available to us. And it's implemented at the local level. Much like Geauga County, Medina County, our townships have our land use plans, we have our planning commission, and we're all engaged in that. So I guess what I'm saying is, with all due respect to the people who commented today and to Mr. Claypool, that we spend an inordinate amount of time debating NEOS in this forum, and I think it's the incorrect forum. I mean, if I'm looking at problems that face townships, I want to see what they're doing downstate, cutting local government funds, what they're doing with money that comes back to us to maintain our infrastructure. And believe me, we understand cost at the local level. So that's just my comment, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I would also add that all of us have plans that we follow in respect to our communities. And I know in Geauga County, our land use plans are gold. I mean, you try to step over those and you're going to be in trouble. And we respect that. And I'm sure I'm not in Bay Village, but I'm sure Mayor Sutherland, they have their own way of looking at Bay Village and what they anticipate. Or Mr. Commissioner Kalo and Lorraine, you have your own set of problems. I remember coming out and visiting you and you showing us your roads and the breaks in between those cement roads. It was incredible. You couldn't go 25 feet without hitting a crack in the road. So there has been a lot of things. I remember going to Tony Brancatelli and I watched, he showed me what has happened in Slavic Village and the liar loans that went on. Believe me, that hit me hard. He said, I have lived here my whole life. And he says, look what's happened to my community. And these were people who came in and sold mortgages to these people and did some terrible things. And, oh yeah, I live in Geauga County, believe me, but I have the empathy for Slavic Village and what they have gone through to try to keep their village up and running. So we all have issues. And I think that we need to respect one another and the things that make us whole. So I'm going to move on to the next agenda item and thank all those for coming in. Your comments have been noted. Okay, let's move on to the resolution action items, the NOACA, the executive director's report. Sorry, Ms.
That's okay, I don't take it personally. Good morning again, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to update you on what NOACA has been doing for this last several months and where we are headed. In terms of the updates, I will continue to provide you with updates on our agenda priorities for fiscal year 2014. And starting with the regional agency strategic plan, the board worked on draft goals in January. The committees worked on the strategies in February and March. And we will be continuing to work on their development through public engagement. So at this point, we have draft goals and strategies. We have an adopted vision. We expect to have online forums through Idea Streams, Civic Commons. We have 3 of them scheduled beginning 29th and 30th of April, then May 15th and 16th, and May 29th and 30th. The site is theciviccommons.com, and we will provide more information as that approaches, as well as we will be doing promotion to engage other folks. So please spread the word, but recognize that we hope to have a lot of participation. We will also be having 3 public meetings, May 20th, 21st, and 22nd. One on the Corporate College East, the Leary Public Library, and the Brunswick Community Library. We also then will have a large community session and idea stream on June 4th. So that would be the culmination of the Civic Commons discussions online as well as the public meetings. So our objective here is to ensure that we have vetted this through the public to engage them in understanding where we as an agency want to go relative to supporting the region.
Excuse me, Chris, and I'm sorry. This is just a comment, and you can take it for whatever it is. I've had personal experience with the Civic Commons and Idea Stream. It's an extremely left-wing, liberal, leading organization. And so the result that you get from what you call public input is already steered. It's already been configured to go in one direction. And you can say all day long this is going to be fair. This will not be fair. If you want to have a fair appraisal, let's set it up by a non-biased third party that represents the region, if you really want to call this a regional plan, and let's do this in a way that is not steering. This program has been steered from the very beginning.
Thank you for your comments, but to clarify, Parsons Brinkerhoff, PB, is actually our consultant who is managing the development of the strategic plan as well as the public outreach. So they are an objective third party who is managing
They
this
are not
effort.
objective. Look at their website, look at where they've come from, look at their history. They are not an objective consultant company.
So, and Idea Stream is one of the venues that we will be using, particularly because it is technology-based, and we are interested in reaching out to folks through technology. We will have 3 public meetings, as I stated, that are not attached to Idea Stream in any way. And also I will mention, whoops. Civic Commons is a platform whereby there are moderators, and I will be one of the moderators. We will be reaching out to board members to see if board members want to be moderators, other key stakeholders in the community, and basically it is chatting back and forth, but everybody can see the chats of comments. So it is like a call-in or like a public meeting, but it is continuous, and you don't have to be present in order to participate because you can write something and then someone sees it later. And so it's over a period of time. And many organizations have been using that platform, and it has seemed to be a very good way to engage many people, particularly those that are unable to be at a fixed public meeting. But I did want to say that the draft goals and strategies that we're talking about will have and do have the intent to reflect all of the changes that this board has made to them through the committees. So that's what we'll be moving forward.
I feel obligated to point out that Mr. Leopold has made several declarative statements here that reflect his opinion. Let's make that clear here. And we may not agree with this point. I think I personally will agree with many of your points.
We can't hear you back here, sir. It's not.
The statements that need to be clear that they are a reflection of opinion and should not be construed as anything other than that.
And thank you, they are my opinion. And the opinion of many in the audience who happen to be your constituents, I might add. And so, whatever, you're absolutely right. Isn't that what we're about here? Expressing our opinion and our thoughts and our ideas so that we can come to the best solution. And so, Mike, I thank you for bringing that up. It is my opinion. Absolutely right. And I will defend my opinion.
Okay, all right. Do we have any other comments?
So if I,
Grace, okay.
So in terms of other communications and outreach, we have set a date for our annual meeting. It will be Friday, September 12th, location to be announced. Also, I'd like to announce the opening of applications or nominations for the Walter F. Ernfelt Jr. Award, which recognizes an individual in the public sector for outstanding regional contributions. Those nominations will be due July 11th and then announced. The winner will be announced at the annual meeting. Forms are in your packets, they're available online and at the NOACA offices. And I believe staff even puts them out on the tables. Further communications and outreach, we have a new award for 2014 that is expected to be presented at the annual meeting, and that's the Sustainable Transportation Awards. Joe Calabrese is pretending he's having a heart attack there because this is something that the board adopted several years ago through, I believe, Joe's request, and we are launching this effort. And the Sustainable Transportation Award is intended to recognize organizations in Northeast Ohio that support and encourage alternative transportation choices for their employees. So we have developed a process by which employers will complete an online survey to apply, and then this campaign will run from June 1st to July 31st. We'll announce the winner in August, and as I said, present it at the annual meeting. We've developed the requirements and the administration of this award to have the least possible administrative burden on the organization, so most of it is through technology. Mr. Calabrese, would you like to make any comments?
I certainly want to thank you and your staff for taking this forward. Again, we want to recognize those employers. There might not be a winner, it might be what employers are doing more, like maybe gold, silver, bronze standard. To encourage our employees to commute via sustainable methods, to be walking, biking, taking buggies, public transit. That really it does what NOACA is really meant to do, to try to reduce congestion and improve air quality. And we think through looking at the best practices, why do some companies have an 80% share of their employees using sustainable methods and other companies having a 1% share? They could learn from each other and say, what can we do to encourage more employees to do that, which is better for the environment and better for everything NOACA stands for. So thank you, Grace. Looking forward to it.
And I do want to add, carpooling is also one of the alternatives. Further in communications and outreach, we've been doing a lot of work in communications and outreach, as you can see. We had 7 public meetings for the OWP, the overall work program, and as part of that, we conducted the very first public meeting via webinar, again, trying to employ technology so we can reach populations that typically have not participated or do not have the time to come when we have our meetings. Also, many of the participants, we were told, heard about the meetings through social media. Relative to the Northeast Ohio Sustainable Communities Consortium, NEOSCC, I will comment that the NEOSCC board approved the final Vibrant 2040 framework and vision in February, and the final report is now available online, vibrantneo.org. So that plan was the product of 3 years of intensive work, including both qualitative and quantitative studies, and a tremendous amount of public participation and engagement. The report was finalized, I believe, last week, and now is available for your review. It is about 300 pages. We will not have written copies available in order to save dollars, so it is just via internet. The Transportation Asset Management Plan, which is a very big part of our current OWP, we have completed the RFP, the request for proposals. We are seeking a qualified consultant to advance the Transportation Asset Management Program to improve and sustain the condition of our highway road infrastructure towards a state of good repair. Proposals are due May 9th at noon, and details are on the website. Also wanted to advise that NOACA is partnering with the National Highway Institute course program. So we will be hosting 2 of their training courses at NOACA. The first is Freight and Land Use Workshop on May 15th. You may register by April 23rd, and the cost is $300. Also, we will be hosting the Fundamentals of Environmental Justice on May 20th and 21st. That registration closes April 28th, and that cost is $500. I will state that it is a matter of good fortune that we're able to partner with them, because that means we, as a region, can have a number of folks attend these at a very low cost because you do not have to travel. These courses are held nationwide, and they move the location so that people will have less of a burden for travel. But this is a tremendous opportunity for our region, and we will have participants from across the country. Third floor construction, all done, though I probably should have put a tiny asterisk, almost. Certainly we have artwork and other things that have to be done, but the last major component of the construction was the conference room and workspace next door, and that's what it did look like, and not working as to what it looks like now. We're stuck. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. So that's what it looked like before, and that's what it looked like now. And I was just telling President Samini that that conference table, which is absolutely beautiful, cost us about $600. I found it at a warehouse blowout fire sale in Chicago. Had a tiny chip on it.
So
legislative funding issues, want to bring to your attention that NOACA will begin a solicitation process for CMAQ and air quality projects today, April 11th. This is a new process. As you recall, over the last year or so, the state has modified the way CMAQ, congestion mitigation air quality dollars, will be distributed. So previously, the dollars came directly to NOACA. NOACA board allocated those. Now the process is that we as a board must solicit projects, then we submit the projects to this statewide committee that is facilitated, moderated by the statewide NPO Association, and then we will look to see, and hopefully we will have a significant amount of projects that will be successful. But the application process begins today, and all of the information is online. Local regional news, Cleveland.com did have an article, actually played here as well. Smart North America put a report out on sprawl that gave Northeast Ohio cities, including Cleveland, poor rankings. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Certainly this gives us opportunities to look at how to mitigate some of the negative impacts of sprawl. Some of you may have heard by now that the Republican National Convention process has narrowed the list, and Cleveland has remained on the short list, and I believe that is why former President McCall is now here now. She is coming back from a meeting related to that, and we look forward to having Cleveland be successful in their endeavor. Relative to the state, the Transportation Review Advisory Council, TRAC, is also soliciting applications for their process, their projects, and that will continue through May 30th. Information is available both on our website as well as ODOT's website. At the federal level, USDOT has published a proposed rule on national performance measures for safety, and I am very proud to say that I am on that national committee that was appointed by the White House, and I've worked on that with them for years. And so it's nice to come to a point where something is out for comment at this point. USDOT has also prepared a report on the state of America's transportation infrastructure. which confirms that more investment is needed to maintain and improve the nation's highways and transit systems. Nothing that we didn't already know, but it is often good to hear it in official context. That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
I would also add the boardroom that Grace showed you that empty look. I'm going to tell you, when I first saw it, there were boxes to the ceiling.
It was a
Chairs
storage room.
upside down.
It was a storage room.
Yeah. I also have a request of Mr. Myron Parkish. I don't mean to put you on. I just have a question, but I am. A lot of people ask me, 28 cents of the gas tax does go to the state, right? But that's not my question. My question is this: if you're a rural county that does not have urbanized borders, is there special funding that goes to them, and when they're not involved in an MPO?
As part of the gas tax, you're talking about the state gas tax being 28 cents a gallon, and the federal gas tax is 18 cents a gallon. There's lots of, that's distributed in many ways. There are parts of Geauga County that get part of that gas tax directly to them. There's a lot of communities, a lot of the townships get portions of that, so there's a lot of different funds that come to Geauga County outside the urbanized areas. All the various cities get portions of that gas tax.
The question is, if a county is not within an urbanized area, I was told that they get a special funding that comes to them.
Well, to perhaps clarify what I think you're trying to get to the question, there are two sources of gas taxes, the federal and the state. The state gas tax is not associated with the MPOs. The state gas tax goes to the state, and ODOT handles the distribution of those dollars.
Department of Taxation handles distribution of those dollars.
And whereas the federal gas tax is goes to the state DOT, but is projects are worked through the MPOs.
I think the federal, I'm not an expert in all this, but the federal gas tax goes to the federal government, and they use their authorizations and federal legislation. The federal gas tax then comes to the states.
True, right. And with Ohio, for example, we are guaranteed 90.5 cents of it comes back to Ohio from Washington. And I will concur with Mr. Parkish that the gas tax issue is very complex. Believe it or not, the federal one is probably a little easier to understand in terms of distribution than the state one. The state one has very complicated formulas because it has been layered in over many, many years. And so therefore, each time the gas tax was passed, there may have been a different distribution methodology. And perhaps what I may suggest is maybe for the next meeting, we can work with ODOT to prepare some kind of a presentation to better understand it.
That'd be fine. I would also suggest that anybody can go on ODOT's website. I know it's easy to guide through there, but on the finance department's website, there we publish annual financial and statistical annual reports, and it talks about the revenues and the distributions and where all the monies go, how we get them, how we utilize those monies. So you'll see annual reports on ODOT's Office of Finance website. It's got pie charts on there. We've got lots of easy to understand who gets what.
Mr. Troy.
Yes, Madam Chair, it's, as Myron has said, it's kind of a complex thing. In terms of the money that goes directly to the counties, the way it's written right now, and has been for a long time, is there are 88 equal shares. Benton County gets the same amount of money as Cuyahoga County. That is why when there are discussions about potential increased revenues to catch up on deteriorating infrastructure, you will see the county engineers and officials from the larger counties not so much asking for a gas tax increase, but asking more for consideration of additional license plate increases or local option license plate thing, because those dollars are then based on vehicle registration, so they will come back at a more fair basis. In terms of a disadvantage or advantage, actually I think that rural counties have a little bit of an advantage, because I think it's still in the code that any state highways that run through municipal corporations, it's the responsibility of the municipal corporation to maintain those state highways. If you're not a municipal corporation, the responsibility then falls back to higher authorities, ODOT, and possibly with interaction with the county engineer. So, but probably a presentation would be good. It's probably like Ohio's property tax system. There's two people in Ohio that understand it, and they disagree. So,
and I think that we all need to understand how that gets and how that goes, because people will ask these questions, or they make up ideas that, oh, it's all going here, we don't need this, and it's all going there. And I think it would be to have that clarified for all of us.
Let me contribute to this conversation. Based on our county engineer, Joe Cattell, not sitting at this table today, unfortunately, Geauga County residents contribute about $10 million a year to federal income tax, or to federal gas tax. We contribute about $16 million a year in the 28 cents a gallon Ohio gas tax. By law, if you go to tax.ohio.gov, there is a form, and it's a very clear form. It gives the specific formulations that Dan talked about and that Myron talked about what comes back to our counties. We get 88%, or we get our fair share after 75% is sent to ODOT, the state of Ohio. 75% is sent to the state, and ODOT takes that 75%. We're left with what's left. And so we in Geauga County get about $2 to $4 million back through NOACA, average 2 out of the 10 that we get contributed on an annual basis. We contribute about 16, we get about 4.4 based on the form that's produced by tax.ohio.gov. It tells exactly what Geauga County gets back. And specifically what the county gets back, the cities get back, and the townships get back. So I would love to see a presentation in here on the formulation, because Geauga County contributes a heck of a lot, and as do many counties. We are gross contributors, and yet where does that, I was just having this conversation this morning with one of our residents who happens to work for NOACA. Where does that extra money go? I would love to know that.
I'll tell you where it goes, outside of Northeast Ohio. Unfortunately.
Should we stop that?
Yes.
That would be terrific for us to work together as a region, all 5 counties of us in Northeast Ohio, to try and get back a larger share of what we contribute. Absolutely. That was something similar that happened at the federal level, where years back there was no guarantee coming back to Ohio. What went to Washington was annually allocated in different ways. Now there's at least a guarantee that comes back. It would be interesting for us to look at something like that to be proposed at the state level as well. Nevertheless, I can see that there's a lot of interest in this topic, and certainly we will prepare a presentation for the full board.
Thank you, Grace.